31.
Okay, so that makes you how old?
83.
83.
As of Monday.
There you go. Tell me your dad's name.
Herbert Spencer Hall.
And what about your mom? What was her name?
Otis Fritz.
Otis Fritz. When you were born, where were you all located?
Lived in Tuckertown.
You lived in Tuckerton,
Right across from Reed School.
right across
On the
from
corner.
Ridgeville.
On the corner. I was
Okay.
raised there.
Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I have 2 brothers.
What were their names?
William Emmett Hall. Emmett William, which one?
William Emmett.
Emmett Hall. And C.A. Hall. He didn't have it's just initials. He went to the Marines and made him give a name. He said he didn't have initials, but he gave him a name, but he didn't go by it. C.A. Hall. Both of those are dead. All my family's dead.
Back in your younger days, what did your dad do for a living? Maybe when you were first born, did he work in the
They
mines?
worked in mines.
Did you all have a big garden up there in Tuckertown too?
No, a small garden.
Small
garden.
Did I guess your mama stayed home with the kids,
Mhm.
took care of the house?
Yes. She never did work outside the home at all.
Do you remember either side of your grandparents and what their names were?
Yeah, Edit Hall, they came here from the Carolinas. They were Indians.
Uh-huh.
Edit was a small person, but they, and what was my grandmother's name? And that was my dad's dad.
Uh-huh.
He was a real short one. And then Mac Hall was my dad's brother, but he was a short, small person too. My dad was a big person, but both of those were real small. All that family was real small. And they lived in Tuckertown, but the house is torn down now. But if you go out here and went up this way into Tuckertown, get top that hill,
Uh-huh.
they live out that top hill on the left. He had a coal mine up here at Shote Lake, a wagon mine.
Uh-huh.
They crawled in and opened them up, and back then, they just take a pick and shovel, start digging a hole.
Uh-huh.
And that's what him and my dad's brother, Uncle Mac, they worked that mine.
Uh-huh.
I can remember them working it. But Dad, he didn't want to work it. I didn't want to work it. He didn't get along with brothers, too
Uh-huh.
much. And so he worked at other places. He opened up a couple of wagon mines around.
Uh-huh.
That was my first experience with mining. My last experience, I decided I didn't want to be doing that.
They worked security later.
Yeah, I walked in. We went up there and he'd crawl back in the mine and dig and like this and stuff. And I crawled back in there with him one time. I said, no, this is not for me.
What about your mom's people? Did you ever know?
I never did see them, never did know them.
Uh-huh.
But Mom's dad was a preacher, and he was part of the ones that opened the First Baptist Church up here the first time.
Uh-huh.
He started, but he was a preacher Fritz, Bill Fritz. Yeah, that's
William.
William Fritz. Yeah. But I never knew them at all. They were dead.
Luke's mother was youngest of her generation, and then Luke was born later after his brother, so he never had the chance to see his grandparents.
Early childhood, did you go to school up there?
Well, 8th grade. I went through the 8th grade there.
And then where did you go?
The high school down here, I went to 2 years and graduated and went in service.
Uh-huh.
But I was in
What year did you go in service?
1948.
48. And how many years did you spend in there?
I stayed 6.5 years, and I stayed 10 years in the reserve. I got 16.
Oh, did you
years.
really?
Yeah.
So where did you get sent or stationed, or where'd you do your training? When you went-
Lackland Air Force.
Did you?
Base and down. I had a service station there, Texaco service station across from where the shell is. I don't know where you remember the Texaco being there or not.
That was probably before my time.
Yeah, well, it had 2-story apartments above it. Slider Roberts, not Slider Roberts, Mr. Roberts, I forgot his name.
Bill Roberts.
Bill Roberts, he had that. And Robert Currier came back from service, and I went in partners with him, and I was 16-year-old. And we had a Texaco service station there. And 2 of the other boys come by, 3 of the boys come by and talked me into going into service with them. And so I was to go around and pick them up on the morning we were supposed to go. I was the only one that had a car, and 2 of them went rabbit hunting before I got there, and one went in with me. His name was Bill Hughes. And
Bill Hughes.
He and I went in service together. We stayed together until 49, stayed together for a year. And then I went overseas one way, and he went overseas the other way. We separated.
Jerry, before you go too far off, do you remember any of the teachers that read?
That's
Yeah,
what
Miss Davis,
Alice
Alice Davis. She was there when I graduated. Yeah, I've got an 8th grade graduation ring from Reed School. It's the only year,
Really?
the only year I got the graduation ring. I got one, still got it. Of course, I wouldn't have, but there's a little girl lived down on Strut Street.
I didn't live on Strut Street. I lived on the main road. He talks in Strut Street.
and she got it and kept it till I come back. And after we got married, she gave it back to me.
really.
Yeah. So I still have
that's
it.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Was Nana Mae up there at that time?
No, she wasn't up there at that time. I don't know, she was up there. She was down
I
here.
think she might have been earlier, but she
Yeah, she was
come
up there,
down here and taught 3rd grade, and she was my
Miss
high school
Dedrick,
basketball coach.
Yes.
Miss
Yeah.
Dedrick was there. I mean, Miss Dedrick, she came there and created, I remember her because she created the rhythm band. And I had a little triangle that I got to play.
Well,
But
keep talking.
we didn't
You know,
have any
you know the
electricity
teachers-
there. So everything had to be manually operated. I can remember us having movies up there, but they'd set a big old generator outside the window there, and you could hear that old diesel running, or motor running, the key running the generator so we could watch a movie. But it's a silent movie. They wasn't.
Wasn't no sound to it.
No.
You remember anybody
I
else?
believe Miss Frank Fox taught up there. Seems like Mr. Fox, it was a
Not
fine
well,
friend.
she might have, but
You know, it's hard. I hadn't thought of it, and I didn't go up there, but I knew.
Yeah.
But maybe
Well,
not.
when you came to Oliver Springs High School, do you remember any of your teachers down there, or was
Yeah,
Mr.
Miss-
Britton involved
Mr.
in?
Britton was there. He's principal there then, and she can tell you more who was principal there then. Miss
Mr.
Faith Taylor was.
Librarian.
I knew more of her than I did anybody because she kept study hall and we had to stay in study hall all the time. But then
Miss
Miss
Shoemake.
Shoemake was there, and then what was her name? And her husband was a mechanic, lived up there at the salt.
Miss Rudy.
Miss Rudy,
Miss
she'd
Rudy.
ride to school with me sometimes. I had an old Model A, 27 Model A, and she'd ride to school and there's a hole in the floorboard and on her side, but the muffler was down there. If it's raining, run through a puddle of steam would come up. She just spread her legs, let steam come out and run through it. But she didn't have a car, you know. But she'd ride to school with me when she lived out to Saltwell, where the garage is now. So
Right.
garage is.
I remember where her house was. Well, now the flood took her house, didn't it?
Yeah.
So how old were you? You were talking about. Did you have a car before you went in the
Oh
service?
yeah, I had a
military?
car when I was 14 years old.
14 years old. Did you have a driver's license?
No, didn't have a driver's license until I was 16. But I had a cab, taxi cab when I was 15-year-old. 38 years. I rode a cab. And of course, everything was gravel road around here then.
Uh-huh.
And Gene Lee and Little Cook and all them, they had brand new cars, and they didn't like to go to New River. They didn't want to go to Frost Bottoms, place like that with a new car. And of course, I'd take all those runs, you know.
Uh-huh.
And so they wouldn't turn me in. But if I got back then, when the guys got out of service, they would go to Georgia to get married. So if I got somebody, I'd let them, anything out of town, I'd let them have, you know. And but I had that 38 Chevrolet. Bought it off from a certain fellow, I wouldn't want to call his name. But he was a sort of a bootlegger. And so I got the car because I'd drive his whiskey run once a week, go up through Briceville and cross there and come back here. Of course, I wouldn't get out of town other than that, you know. And then when I bought it from him, I was supposed to pay him $12 a week, $12.50 a week. And he said, now on Friday, I said, I got it. Said, you'll know whether you got that $12.50 or not. Said, you come to me and borrow it and pay me on Saturday my $12.50. And what he was teaching me was pay my bills on time. I didn't know it at the time, you know. But that's where I paid for it. But I had a cab and everything.
How much did you have to pay for the car altogether? You remember that?
It seemed like to me it was either $40 or $50.
$40 or $50?
But back then we trade cars for $2.50.
Now let me ask you something. When you was making that bootlegging run, how old was you at that time?
14, 15, 16. I wasn't over 16 because I wasn't in service.
He wasn't the one that made that movie.
No. My car wouldn't go over 35, 40 miles an hour.
Well, now,
But I didn't go out of town, see. And if you pull up for a delivery, if they standing up, you stop. If they sitting down, you kept going. And if I stopped, I wasn't there 30 seconds because they'd open the back door, put the whiskey in, and we'd pull out. Uncle Bob, he would pay them later, you know. But that's the way we knew where to pick up or deliver, picked up or not. We wasn't delivering, just picking up. And so if they were standing up, we stopped. If they sitting down, if they squatting down on the side of the road, we knew it wasn't ready yet, so we
Wasn't
could go
ready.
on.
Well, you lived up near the school and everything, so you were pretty close to Oliver Springs.
Yeah, we
Did you go to either one of the movies years ago?
Oh yeah, I went to all of them. This and down here, I was there before it was a movie. Then went there when it had movies there.
Uh-huh.
See, the snack shop was our movie.
Snack shop
mascot.
that had a snack shop on the corner. The counter and the backdrop and the counter is down in the country kitchen now. I bought it off from Ralph Doherty and went up and he had it stored upstairs, and I went up there and cut the crew up there and got it out
Uh-huh.
and refinished it, put it in down here at the building downtown.
Well, now, when we interviewed and talked to Miss Doherty, she said she made a good living down there selling
Oh, yeah.
snack bar and stuff.
Yeah.
She said she used to wear that little. They used to wear that little jukebox out.
Yeah.
That was a good
Well,
one.
there was 3 restaurants right there in that corner. There was one, the snack bar, and then Miss, what was his name, had that? Newman. They had a little, he come back out of service, had a little chili joint there in that house where they lived.
Really?
And then across the street there, the White House, somebody had a restaurant in there for a short time. But you know, it was right in all in the section.
3 of them right
Yeah.
there.
Well, see, we
But,
didn't have lunchrooms at school and things then, you know, so.
We'd go out to Magby, Charlie Magby's, to get a hot dog for a nickel.
Now, we hadn't interviewed anybody and asked them about Shirley Fairchild's.
Shirley?
And,
Yeah.
you know, that's the last person I remember living down there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah.
the only one I remember
Yeah.
living in that house.
Shirley drank, he come at I can remember him more because down at the theater fountain, he'd come in there and sit down and he'd order a hot cup of water. He didn't drink coffee, didn't drink anything, but he wanted a hot cup of water and he'd get a hot cup of water. I can remember him doing that all the time. That's what, it always come to my mind. He sold furniture.
He has furniture store in front, in front
Oh,
part of
did
the
he?
house there,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, he had a furniture store.
Yeah, I've got probably a piece here that came from there when I was a little girl, yeah. And then they lived in the back. He had that right on the corner, facing Claire's house.
Yeah.
That was where he sold his furniture from.
And wasn't there a little restaurant right down the street there next to the railroad track, that little long building?
Yeah,
But
that's Charlie
Mr.
Magby.
Yeah.
Charlie Magby,
Yeah,
okay.
he
He's
was
the
the
town
town
marshal
marshal,
doing, yeah.
and Miss Magby run the restaurant. And you could get a hot dog for a nickel. Mom used to try to send me up to get music lessons, and she'd give me, it was a dime, and I'd take a nickel of it to buy me a hot dog, and never did go get my music lessons, and I never did learn how to play the piano because of that. For some reason.
Well, now, who was teaching you music lessons? Do you remember?
Yeah, Miss Mamie Zinknitz.
And Miss
And Miss Anzick, yeah.
Annie.
Really?
Yeah.
So you would go up to their house?
Yeah.
She wasn't married.
It was right past where Harvey's store is there.
So is
There's
it-
two big houses in there. The Adams family, and they lived in the next one.
Yeah, his 3
Yeah.
sisters lived there.
Yeah, Miss Mamie, she was a town recorder, and she had that little restaurant, had the city hall then, the recorder's office and all that was that little brick building now right there across from
Harvey's?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And you go up there, that's where I went up there to get my,
Music lessons?
no, not there, I went to the house for that.
Oh, okay.
And I went there to get anything I had to be notarized, because I always wheel and deal a little bit on something, you know, selling, buying.
Judy Adams' mother lived in Newton, lived in the first house, lived there next to.
Yeah, that's what I said, you
Well, I
know.
know, but it's just coming back to my mind now. I hadn't thought about this.
Eddie's mother gave me a job when I was 12 years old.
What was you doing at 12 years old?
Down here, they had a service station, they had the SO service station, they had a bus route, but they had black gas in the back of the building. But they go up front and, you know, and I had to go around there when they wanted black gas, I had to go around and make sure they didn't pump out, because they had to pump it like this, make sure that they get more than what they're paying for, you know. And then she let me sweep up and do odd jobs. Back then they had the iron towers up and wipe windshields when they come in, and so I got to
Right.
do some of that.
Let me ask you this. In your younger days, while you was going to school, did y'all go to church anywhere?
I went to Beach Park, and she went to, but I met her when I was 11 years old, going on 9. She was 9, going on 14, at the First Baptist Church over here, and Bible school. Because back then, if there's anything going on in any churches, that's all it was to do. You went to churches, you know.
That was it.
Yeah. Go from one church to the other for revivals, and you'd walk to this and walk to that.
Who was the preacher up there then? Remember?
Richard Clark. Was,
Preacher Clark.
he-
Preacher Clark.
Yeah, that's the earliest one I can remember, and he was, yeah.
He is about the earliest one, just about.
Mm.
That's about the only, that's the first one they got a picture of up there, I believe, isn't
Yeah,
it? Mr. Clark.
yeah,
Did you ever go in the Richard sisters' house? The big house?
No, and it wasn't. I know when the murder happened. I
You
can
know when
remember
the-
when it happened, but I never.
Do you
was in-
remember anything about it?
No, no, other than just what I heard.
Well, talk to us about
Well, I
a
mean,
little bit what you
that's all I heard, just about that. And of course, we was all scared. I lived in Tuppertown. I wasn't
Right.
a city boy, and so we just heard about it, and then we was always worried about, But as far as hearing any of the gossip, I didn't know nobody in this part of town.
Being here in town and being around, did you ever remember seeing Powder Brown, or
No,
you ever remember seeing that boy?
I didn't ever know that part of it. I didn't know. It was
Okay.
just a little bit before I got to being in town.
Okay.
They'll leave a message.
You sure you don't need to answer?
No, they'll leave a message.
Let's see. Let's talk about some people in town. Who in town do you consider a good friend, or that you've known all your life, or you've done business with, or tell us something about some people in town. So maybe tell us some things we don't know about. Maybe Charlie Reeves or
Well, I can remember
Bill
when Charlie
Sharp.
lived in Tuppertown. He run a coal truck before he come to Oliver Springs, and he lived right down from me. He lived at the top of Reed's Hill there.
uh-huh.
And so he lived right down below me there, and on the left. And they had to run Diamond T coal trucks. They had a Diamond T tow truck, an old 2.5 or 2-ton truck, but that's what he drove. And then he came down and opened a restaurant and a bus terminal. That had a little shotgun place right before you cross the railroad tracks on the left there. I don't know if you ever knew about it or not.
No, I don't
It
think
was
so.
right on the track, but it's just a little shotgun. You remember that, Eddie?
Was it where they had the pool hall?
Yeah,
in it?
yeah. And so Charlie had that when he built the one across the tracks there, then, where the bus terminal was. And then when he moved over, Ray Jones got the other one. Ray had a chili joint in there, and Ray lived upstairs in for a while.
Well,
But then they turned in
had a beer shop upstairs before they moved over to the new place.
Well, yeah.
The-
Well, maybe Ray had the chili joint in there before Charlie went down there.
maybe the-
And Ray lived upstairs, and when Charlie went down there, because he moved, had the pool on it. And that's my uncle, Uncle Mac, that run the pool room.
That was a 2-story building.
Yeah, and Ray Jones lived upstairs when he had the chili joint there in the lower part,
Yeah.
My brothers and them used to hang out there. That was a little before my time. Yeah, that's right, because then Charlie Reeves went in there. And Charlie had a bus terminal there. That's where the first bus terminal we ever had was there. And then he built a new one across the street.
Did you eat in there very much?
In the bus terminal?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
yeah. We had the Lions Club, the first Lions Club in Oliver Springs. It was built and formed right there. We had the Lions Club dinners, and then we had all kinds of meals in there. And, on Sunday, you go down and had a bar,
buffet.
Right.
buffet you go by. Yeah.
You were talking about Ray Jones a minute ago now. As I remember, he's the one that had the recipe for that chili that
It's
was
famous for his chili.
It's famous for his chili, and it's the chili they had at the Crystal Cream.
I didn't know that now. That's a new
Yeah,
one to me.
it's
But
the
I mean, he was
same,
famous for his chili.
Yeah. That's the same chili, though. That recipe
Yeah.
came from Ray Jones.
Well, I didn't know that.